Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Chad Lohr, welcome to ATV Talk. How are you, brother?
Doing good, man.
And people have been telling me that I needed to do this from day one is to have you on.
Well, I'm glad we finally made time to get up to do this, and I really appreciate you following up and inviting me to do it.
Well, dude, you have had a stellar career in ATV racing, and it needs to be covered. It need to be talked about. There's a lot of people that's still at the national that still knows who you are, knows some of the things that you accomplished, and they want to hear your story.
Well, my dad and I, we had a great run, and just to be honest with you, stopped racing back when I was 38. So, what's that, about 15 years ago, is when officially stopped. But we had a lot of good times with my dad, with my racing friends, and with great sponsors like y'all at Duncan Racing. So we had a really good time doing it, and just thoroughly enjoyed it.
We talk about a lot of people doing it for all these numbers of years. How did you get into racing?
Well, got into racing. Actually started off at the fairgrounds, drag racing, three-wheelers. And then Dad started racing a little motocross on the three-wheelers. And then next thing you know, I went from an ATC 90 to a 200X, and then an 85, got my first Suzuki quad racer. So at 15 years old, so around 1985, that was the first time. So I never raced the 250R, went straight from the 200X to the quad racer, and never looked back, man. Four-wheelers are awesome. Yeah, I wasn't the greatest on a three-wheeler for sure.
So once you went to the four-wheeler, you never went back to the three-wheeler?
Never. Yeah, he sold it, and it was all she wrote. So, and then just, started there, and from there just, did the local races, and it was just nice, because it was starting to grow then, and, and of course, it's all I wanted to do. It wasn't thinking about college or anything else. All, I wanted to do is race. And, we, for what we had, we went very far. And, it's just been a good life experience with everything that we've done with it. I tell people every day, if we ever get into talking about racing has made me who I am today, just because of my work. I'm not being afraid of being told no. And, because my mom and dad, dad would work two jobs to help do the racing. And, of course, my mom worked full time, but all the sponsorship stuff was pretty much, up to me. And so, I've been many a times of getting chewed out because I've had $400 and $500 phone bills from calling people, asking them to help out during the years coming on.
Right. So, let me ask you, I know we'll get a little off topic, but as you were developing the skills to ask sponsors and build proposals, the transition from racing life to your business life, explain a little bit about that in the transition so that the younger people that are listening can understand how important it is to pay attention to your sponsors and some of the things you need to do to have good sponsors?
Um, I feel that nowadays, and not getting off subject, we didn't have iPads and phones and all that type of stuff when we were coming along. You have the good old, bag phone. I didn't get one of those until I was college, but racing helped me learn how to socialize and be with people. And the biggest thing is I was young, so a lot of people I hung out with at the track were much older than me. One of my best friends is Mitch Morgan, who works at American Honda. A lot of my friends when I came along were older than me, and so I feel that when I say it's made me who I am today, uh, you can ask my kids, what you put into it is what you get out of it. And so if you want something to grow, you've got to be able to commit yourself to make it happen. And in my best years of racing, to be honest with you, was in my late 20s and early 30s. I mean, I was an old fart, when y'all started helping me out a bunch. And, and a lot of the things that Duncan did, for me, it was nice because it was the closest to a factory ride I would ever have. When how it was run, even where the stickers need to be placed, it was all, it was just nice having that guidance and so forth. But the biggest thing is just not being afraid to call somebody and, yeah, are you accepting resumes? You're not accepting resumes. And my resumes weren't, even the greatest. And but it was nice because I was able to ask people, if you can help out and go from there. And then, I remember when Lauren years ago, you know, I was racing in the pro class, no open pro am, no pro ams, just trying to make it in the pro class. And Lauren came to me and said, "Hey, how do you feel about racing in the open pro am class?" And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I've never. He's like, "Well, if you can win it, then I can get you more help, and more help is going to make you better, make things better for your dad, and so forth." And we did it and never looked back. And, and it means a lot. A lot of people don't know that what you put into this sport, money wise, time wise. And, it's like having a second job. And, without having great sponsors and so forth, and especially, my dad, I wouldn't have been nothing. I mean, I worked hard and I tried to do the best I could with what we had.
And that rolled into meeting more and more quality people so that you could have better and better quality sponsors.
That's right. That's right. And, and having, I mean, it's just a list of great companies that were out there. And I would have never, uh, be honest with you, dreamed of having them as sponsors and so forth. And, uh, I was just kind of like that at Rocky. You just got it polished and, and just trying to do everything you can to promote your sponsors and do everything you possibly can. And like I said, that I always joke about, you got to ask a pretty lady to dance, and the worst thing she's going to tell you is yes, no, or maybe. And so that's the way I look at life, especially with selling my landscape work, because I have to be able to sell myself. And if you don't, you can have a great company behind you, but ultimately it's coming down to you, the individual, in my opinion.
So what you're saying is that all those years of talking to those sponsors and dealing with those people to go participate in the sport you love. Now you use those same skills to sell yourself to make money to feed your kids.
Yes. Yep. I love what I do. I think, you know, it's just like y'all been doing the same thing for years and years and years. And this is, ever since I've, graduated college. I mean, even though I'm only, 53, I've been doing this, since I was 20 years old when I graduated from college. And, I, I enjoy what I do, and it's just, I know this sounds crazy, but I've taken the competitiveness that I eat, live, and breathe with racing and sports and moved it to my company. And maybe not be the best explanation, but it's a game to me because it's win or lose. You you never have to be cocky. I feel that people want to uh, have nothing but trust and honesty and great work. And with my staff, I mean, I always say I'm the first impression and they're the last impression. And so you're only as good as your employees. And I try to, I'm a hard boss, but I'm a good boss. That's what I always say, because we got to provide something for people, because the type of business that I'm in, unless it's a commercial type deal or somebody who really needs us, we're a luxury business, because anybody can cut their grass, anybody can plant their shrubs and lay their sod, etc. Might not look as good as it is when we do it, but that's why I always say we're a luxury. So whatever you're charging, we want to make sure we're going to give these people everything that they expect. But my goal is to beat their expectations.
Right. Same here. We're in a luxury business, and you can work on your own ATV. So when you send me one to build, you're sending it to me because you want it a notch above what you can do yourself.
That's right. That's right.
I
That's
told
right.
because gosh, I just released some episodes where one of the guys that I deal with, Leon Spindon the third, he is always asking me questions about the years I spent doing it, and he finally just said it. He goes, he says, I've been asking you these questions. I've been freaking talking to you about all the past. He says, why don't you have a show with me and let's talk about all of it? So we did, and we made it a two-parter because you can't put 40 years in an hour, or you just can't put it in a bottle and
That's
and
right.
and instantaneously be done. I mean, you were at a point in time in our history and in the history of the sport that was spectacular. I mean, you can't take anything away from now. You can't take away the times before, but the era that you got to race in was really, really cool.
Yep. Now we had, you know, when you go to take and these young riders and stuff, what I feel sorry for them about right now is it's kind of like when we transition from the factory teams to the hybrids, and then got back into the factory teams. And with having one actually manufacturer right now, it's just sad that, and again, this is my opinion, seeing the sport where it's at right now to what I call the glory days when we had it, but it's been great memories because I got to experience a lot of it. Because at the very beginning, it was you had the factory Suzuki team. It was the first one, and then Honda came in, and then all of a sudden, I mean, but you remember when during the ESPN series, at that point in time, what do we have, 4 or 5 manufacturers pulling
Yep.
up in rigs,
Yep.
and that those were some awesome times. And and seeing all these people come out, and I remember
Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs.
That, like, one of my first pro races was actually at Reedsville down in North Carolina. And, I was racing 250 and 500. And, the good old Quadzilla, besides having handlebars on it and a seat cover and an axle and tire and wheels and a pipe, it wasn't any aftermarket suspension on that thing. But, my kids knew I raced, but they didn't know how, I want to say, in depth I was in racing. And finally, we have Dad and I kind of have our little man cave down at our shop, and the kids finally wanted me to put my trophies and stuff up. And they've been in boxes and so forth, and of course I was just going through them. But it was so cool because my first national ever won was on that bike in 1988, and that was when Loretta's flooded, and we had to go race on this secondary track in a field and nothing but hills. There was no jumps, and it was just kind of like right up my alley. And because I've just never been a big jumper and so forth, but it was so cool to win that race, in '88, and and it was just awesome because I beat some of these guys that had those factory rides. I think I ended up winning it with a 3 and a 2. And, so being able to race against, Gary Denton, Rodney Gentry, all those, people that, it's just kind of scary how long I've been racing, because I never even did the amateur class at the Nationals. Dad took me straight from our district racing that we have here in Virginia and Carolina and Maryland, and went and signed me up for my first national at Reedsville. Now, I ended up qualifying for both main events, but I have never been so tired in my life because I had to do a last chance on every single one. But it was a blast. But from there on, man, I was hooked on the Nationals, loved chasing the points, being with, all the people, and just making new friends, new sponsors, and had just enjoyed it, man. It's just a huge part of your life back then, because that's all you did was eat, live, and breathe racing.
How did you know about training? When did you start learning about that?
Well, I really didn't know a whole lot. I would use my high school sports to help out, but I had a friend who raced dirt bikes, and he's the one that kind of pretty much sent me down the right path to start like biking, running, lifting, and all that type of stuff. But the best training I ever had is when I finally talked Dad into getting me a practice bike, because because I wasn't allowed to ride my race bike during the week. So it'd be like you show up and it's like you getting used to your bike again every weekend. And then finally, when we started, doing better and everything, he went ahead and got uh, me a practice bike. And then then he found out it was easier to keep up with a dirt bike. So I'd ride a dirt bike during the week just so I could get in some, seat time and so forth. So that's why I was saying in my late 20s, it was a big change for me because my dad's boss let me build a track down there at his shop. And at that point in time, man, it was great. I mean, I'd ride a dirt bike or ride a four wheeler, shake down the race bike, a few laps, and just basically just keep our practice bike going together. But that was the most training I love. A lot of people don't understand. I mean, especially people outside, what it takes to hold on to a four wheeler and get your heart rate up. Travis Spader got me wearing a heart rate monitor and all those type of things. So, and Dad's like, what the hell is that thing supposed to do? I said, it'll get my heart rate up. And I said, I can look at it on my crossbar pad so I can see where I'm at. And I need to try to keep that for that whole entire time for that 20 minutes. So,
Nice.
but that was, just a lot of it was self-taught, to be honest with you. I mean, but I just enjoy running and mountain biking. I really enjoy mountain biking.
Most people don't even understand the self-sacrifice, how much of your personal life disappears so that you can go race.
Oh yeah, weddings, birthdays, funeral. I mean, you name it. There's a lot of stuff you miss, man. And it's tough, but it was just a love that that I always had, and I've never loved to do something as much as I did when I was racing. I'm not saying I was a completely different person, but it was the one place that I could go and get away and check out. I don't care how bad of a day you had at work, school, whatever. When you go and work out, because when I was in college, I didn't have no bike. So all I had was a mountain bike. And that's all I do is every day after class is go ride a mountain bike. I mean, that 20 to 21-year-old, time frame, man, that was the best shape I've ever been in my life. Just because of that's all I did. And then go race on the weekends. I mean, I only stayed 2 weekends my entire 2 years through my college. I came home every weekend just to race.
And none of those people that you went to school with probably even had any idea what you
Mm-mm,
did.
mm-mm. Nope. They just know that I raced, and some of my, good college friends that I'm still in contact with. I mean, that was the first time I was in college when I got a chance to go race over to Tokyo Dome when we went over there. I mean, it was me and I think it's Andrew Buck, right? Wasn't his name Andrew Buck? I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we were the only. It was only like 2 or 3 Suzukis, and everybody else was on Hondas. Because it was like 12 of us that went over there.
Nice.
So that was, that was during my college years, and then it was awesome to go into when y'all had asked us, Tavis and I about doing the Ponte Vue. That was a hell of an experience. That was awesome. I enjoyed doing that.
How many times
Yeah,
did
it
you
was
get?
fun. I think it was 3, might have been 2, but it was 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think that, the greatest races that I've ever got to race was Vegas to Reno and Ponte Vue. You
Yeah,
know,
it was a blast. I mean, you will find out what you're made of when you have to get out there and ride that bike for that long. And, I remember the one year we were actually doing pretty well. I mean, I think Tavis and I, we just did the 2-man team, and we were, I think, going in to the last round, we were in the top 5. And, but that night before, Tavis got sick, and I had to uh, basically ride longer than, and I had no idea what I had in me until after that night, because we just had to, just keep going. And then the daggone bike ended up messing up within, like, I think, like the last hour and a half of the race on that
Oh,
Sunday. But it was, like I said, it was a great experience, and just ATV world, and y'all helping us do that. That was a heck of an experience. When you tell somebody you raced in France, they're like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got to do some cool stuff. It was fun."
yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, because I'm always been a mechanic, I've not been like the racer. I've got to race quite a bit, but to go and ride with, the guy that I spent most of my life wrenching on, I raced against Eichner in Pondezvous, and obviously the only time that we ever competed is we had one team where we were in the top 10 for a very short time, and then as it goes, just had little issues with, we ran out of gas one year right away. But it's just fluke things that went on. I didn't run the team. I was just on the team. And,
Gotcha.
you learn quickly how to make all these preparations so that you don't have those issues, you know.
Yeah, I don't think you'll do you justice to try it one year, because you've got to you learn from that first year. I mean, look at all the years that y'all have done it with Doug, and and what was it, 7, 8 times that
The company's
he
won,
won it.
Doug's won it 7 times with the company, and then we had a French team won it one year on a 250R.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of prep work, you know.
It's an incredible amount. You got to hand it to Lauren on that, because him and um, Martin Fletcher, who's unfortunately passed on, did all the legwork for that. Years and years of conversations, and Martin did a bunch of custom stuff on the Banshees, on the side. So Lauren and him were always on the phone. I just remember we would ship packages, starting 4 or 5 months ahead of time. We're shipping stuff over there constantly, getting those bikes ready. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's great. It's just like when you go to Baja. You can't just go to your first Baja and expect to win, because there's so many unforeseen things. I don't even know how to explain it. Preparation is probably the key. You're just not prepared for everything that's going to hit you.
That's right.
Even you could be a seasoned veteran, and there's always something new every year that you come across, and you're just like, "Oh, I've never seen that before," and you
Hmm.
have to deal with it and go on. It's so much fun, though. I mean, the people, you got to race in France when the French were gracious to the Americans. You know,
Hmm.
they cared, they invited, and they wanted us there. I raced there when they didn't want us there anymore.
Yeah.
Totally difference in the way you're treated, because I got to go when they wanted us, and then I got to go
Hmm.
when they didn't want us. You guys have won too much, get out of here. And we still won, and it pissed them off.
Oh yeah, man. It was. I've just imagine, over 100 and some teams, and everybody being, not, but just how it rolled. I mean, it was a great experience, just to go through it.
You're never alone on the track.
Never. Mm-mm.
You're either being passed or passing the
Yep.
whole.
And you, especially on a 4-stroke on that Yamaha, you would. It would have been nice to have another gear going down that straightaway, because you just feel like that thing is just going to jump out of the frame,
Right.
because it was running like a scalded dog. And I mean, it's just a fine line. You got to build a fast bike, but you got to build a reliable bike.
Right.
And man, like I said, it was a blast doing it.
It was incredible. I don't I've never done any of the endurance races like the 9 hour or some of the stuff they've had on the East Coast or in the Midwest. I've never done any of this stuff out there. We did some 24-hour stuff over here in California, but nothing back.
Yeah, that's the first time and the only time I've ever done, competed in an endurance race. I never did those ones out on the Midwest and so forth. And not saying I wouldn't have, but just never came up.
Right, right. You spent most of your time doing the motocross series back when,
Hmm.
there was way more entries than there are now.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, seeing the, when you're just looking back. I mean, I know side by sides are getting real popular and everything, and just like everything else, I guess, people's wants are changing and so forth. But there's, you know, you take these four-wheelers and how much, from 85 and until like my last Suzuki I built in 2008, and that 450 motor, fuel injected, y'all doing the work to the motor and stuff. I mean, that thing, it's just crazy how much these things have changed, and through that time frame. And again, I just wish, for all these up and coming, riders and so forth, it was, a little bit more for them to go for, because uh, it's just be nice to see a lot more, factories get back into it. But I doubt if they are. Who knows? But
You don't know if they'll come back. I got to live through the factories 3 times, coming and going, coming and going. So they may come back. The last time they came, they decimated the people that carried the industry. They didn't,
mhm.
they hurt us. And the independents got crushed in that, and they brought different people in, did different things. Maybe it generated some new companies, maybe it didn't. But it's hard to say. They just didn't help the industry grow by the way the factories ran the show. If they would have came in and helped us grow and change things a bit, maybe a couple of them would still be here.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
I don't think they listen to the industry well enough. Not like Yamaha. I think Yamaha really took heart to what was going on in the industry, and they got the right people involved in their building process, and have built a machine right now that's second to none in the industry, because it found its place. It's done well, and it's strong, and it's stable and reliable. The industry can build on it. The rest of the guys just didn't take hold to the independent portion of the industry and develop with them. But
Hmm.
Yamaha, you can be a Honda guy, you can be a Suzuki guy, whatever. You got to take your hat off to Yamaha. They're still in the fight, and they're still doing a great job.
Oh yeah, for sure. And wasn't for them, I mean, it, it wouldn't be nothing right now. I mean, you think about it. I mean, a lot of people still have some of their older bikes that they're still racing and so forth. But you know, when you got your, I think when I came to the Legends race and was watching the pro class, so it was all Yamahas, and I think it was a one or two Suzuki's in the pro class. And so hats off to Yamaha, because they definitely have stood behind this sport, uh, as it's changing right now.
Yeah, and they're actually giving support to riders, in a couple different series, and they're not just giving it to one guy, they're giving it to multiple people, and they're keeping the sport alive themselves. Granted, I think they're profiting as well because every unit they build, I believe they sell every one. So
Right.
it's not like they're stacking them up to sell them later. I think if another manufacturer came in with a quality machine, you see let's say you see an LTR again, it would sell right off the bat. It would sell and
Oh
it
yeah.
would compete.
No, I definitely think that would happen. You know, it, when you're getting into these bikes, I mean, that's the part that I enjoy the most. I mean, when we were running the roll designs, for example, I mean, people are like, well, I don't know what a hybrid is. I said, well, we're kind of like NASCAR. We started off with a chassis and then we build the bike, from there. And they're like, oh, you have to put all this stuff. I was like, yeah, we did, literally you buy a rolling chassis and then you start putting it together. And, you know, I can honestly say, that was the one of the biggest regrets I have is I don't have one of my old, roll designs. That thing was awesome. And back then, like I said, you had to sell the bikes to get ready for the next year and so forth. I mean, I had to do, but I love to always try to find one. I mean, I don't go and actively look every day or nothing like that, but that's one bike that I do miss not having just to sit there and look at.
You brought up your kids a while back in our conversation. When they look at the trophies and some of the things that you got to do in your career, what do they think? I mean, do they say much about it?
They just ask me, why did I stop? And, of course, did I ever get hurt real bad? And, those type of things. But that's the one thing I want them to know, that with racing, you gotta, it's a lot of commitment. And, and I just, they see my love for it, but you know, if I didn't have my issues that I have with my health now, with my feet, um, and so forth, I mean, I still probably would, try to do a few races a year and so forth. But that won't happen, just because of my issues that I have with my feet. But they they see it, and I think they. People always ask me, well, you can get your kids into it. I'm like, no, I'd rather not. And, if they came to me, that would be a different story, but it's a joke. Uh, I don't know how to work on nothing. I just know how to ride them. And, and they'd be screwed when it comes, they wouldn't have a top notch, guy like dad was with me, and so forth. But, I would, I mean, I guess if they came to me, I would let them do it, but it's not something I've pushed. I'll put it to you that way. I'm not going to be the dad or the parent living my dream through my kid. You know, it sometimes happens with any type of sport, or what people want to do. I think sometimes the parents love it more than what the kids do, and that's just, I want them to excel and do whatever they want to do, and do their best at it. I mean, I don't care if it's playing a violin or acting in a play, whatever. I mean, of course, you know, I just want them to do their best.
Right.
But it's the only thing I love doing at that point in time in my life was being on that bike.
Right, right. Does the work ethic, when you're talking about working and you're talking about the things that you have to do in life, how much do you fall back on your racing, or do you use your job mostly to give them insights on, how to succeed in life?
I'd use both quite a bit. You know, um, you know, when you're looking at life, and it's my opinion, religion, work, school, your sport. Uh, if you don't feed it, it's not going to grow. And so that is something that I live by. And and I tell my pastor, you know, one thing I try to do is be the best husband, the best dad, and the best boss I can be. And some days I suck at all three, but I just get up and try it all over again the next day. And, and that's what I just try to teach my kids. I mean, I got a lot of sayings, so they got to keep up with pops because I got a lot of sayings for a lot of experiences and so forth. And then you got to break down what that saying means. And, but that's one that I've been trying to instill into them at a very early age. I just want you to do your best, and you get it. Because I mean, my wife is the smart one, the smart, beautiful one who helps to keep up with the school work and everything else. And I kind of be the role model of being a hard worker and doing all those other different parental things that need to be done, and tell them more about life experiences, and good and bad. So but
right.
but she's the glue that holds us together, so it's very important.
Dude, I don't disagree with you. That's outstanding. You know, I get to see the same portion. You were similar age. Your kids are a lot younger than mine. I mean, my grandchildren are in the age bracket where your kids are. But it's still great to be there and try to parent. And I understand your philosophy on trying to be the best husband you can, the best father you can, and the best boss, even though I'm not the boss. I try to do the best I can every day. You don't always get there. Some days you have to lick your wounds and come back the next day and take care of
Yep.
it all, but you do the best you can. You just do the
That's all we can do, man. That's all we can do is be blessed enough to get up and do it all over again the next day, because we
right on.
never know when our expiration date's going to come due.
Yeah,
So
tomorrow's not guaranteed.
no, no, not
No.
at all.
And one of my buddies says, gray hair was never guaranteed.
Yeah, I
Have
got a
gray
bunch
hair.
of it.
Well, so do I. If you have gray hair, be thankful that you have it, because there's people that
Yeah,
are younger than us that don't and that never got it. So
yeah.
be thankful. On a more positive note, what was your favorite track to race?
My local or national or
Doesn't matter.
anywhere. To be honest with you, it would probably be come down to two tracks. I like Etchicani, uh, rougher the better. And then I always enjoyed on a local race. I love Birch Creek. So, and of course that we ran some nationals there too, and so forth. But I had some really, Budge Creek, Birch Creek, and Etchicani. They would probably be my top three. Like I said, I wasn't a big jumper, so I enjoyed a rough track
Really?
where your endurance and everything else comes into play.
Are you ready to be captivated by one of nature's masterpieces? Discover the breathtaking beauty of Antelope Slot Canyon, a natural wonder in Page, Arizona. Join us on a guided tour
and immerse yourself in the mystical light beams, rich colors, and serene landscapes. With tours at prime sunbeam hours, experience photographer's paradise and capture memories that will last a lifetime. Comfortable shoes, a camera, and a smile are all you need for this adventure. Book your journey today at Antelope Slot Canyon Tours and let the canyon enchant you. Please visit us now, antelopeslotcanyon.com, for more details. That makes total sense. So you got to ride 2-strokes and 4-strokes, and you rode YFZs, the carbureted version, and then you got to ride the fuel injected Suzuki, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite bike? I know you talk highly about the Lobo, but what was your favorite bike? If that's in your career, if you could base it on that's the only bike that you could ever raced, which one would it have been?
I love that LTR fuel injected. That thing was sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides the Lobo, that was that. And like I said, we won, a championship on the Yamaha and so forth. And they're a great bike, but I felt that the Suzuki was a little bit, not that it was close to home of a Lobo, but it had a really good feel to it. And but man, that fuel injected, I mean, that's so sweet. I mean, those days of being in being all the years of riding a 2-stroke and just having that responsiveness and no hesitation, unless it just wasn't, something wrong with the bike, man. That LTR, I mean, to this day, Dad will have the battery tenor on that, and that thing just cranks up. And I've only got like 3 or 4 races on that bike in '08 because we built it brand new. And that that thing just still runs like a scalded dog. I mean, it rips.
That's awesome.
It,
And
thanks to y'all with
that's
doing the
one.
motor too.
Huh?
I said thanks to y'all doing the motor and stuff on it. Like I said, it rips.
And that's the one you still have.
Yep. Yep. I will not get rid of it. So
That's so cool.
yeah, we sold the practice bike and we kept that one, and and it's just we crank it up every once in a while, and that's about it. Now I'm old. I have Polaris 4-wheelers, and Dad and I just got 2 of the Kawasaki Ridge side by sides.
With
So
the enclosed cab?
yep, yep, yep. So that's pretty sweet. So on those cold and rainy days, and I mess around with some farming and stuff a little bit. I got a few cows, and so it's nice having that. But that thing's pretty strong. It runs good.
Well, that's the one that if I was going to get one, that's what I would get for my wife because, she doesn't want the helmet and the dirt. My wife is not a dirt sports person at all.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's enclosed and I can turn the heater on or turn the air on, turn the radio on, she's going to be all in for that, so she'd be comfortable and then she'd even be able to drive. I don't know if I would want to be passenger, but she could go out and destroy it and have a great time. I'm not a UTV guy because every one I drive I put upside down, so I just try not to do it anymore because it's
I haven't turned it completely upside down, but I've turned it on its side, and it was Dad's.
well the
So,
her dad's on its side than yours, right?
well, it was his side by side, and he had just gotten it. So it wasn't a good day, but hey, I take it on the chin. I called him and said, Hey, you see your Yamaha? It's I think it was the Viking, and it wasn't a. I've never been inside. It's kind of like sports cars. It's probably the best thing for me not to get into one of the what I call the race ones. It
Right.
have all the stuff on them because I'll end up probably end up killing myself on one. But like you said, flipping it over. So that's why I kind of just stick to uh, the utility type ones. I can get my firewood in and do all that type of stuff. But if I want to get into it, yeah, it feels good to go 55 or 60 miles an hour, but you're still, it's different than being on a bike doing that.
Right. Totally. I still, even with my limiting injuries and stuff where I can't ride as much as I would like to, I still don't want to do the cage deal. I still want to ride with the handlebars and go out and enjoy myself.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to go do it, I don't get to go very often because I spend so much time, I'm still extremely busy with more builds than I can do. And we're just, hitting them as hard as we can, moving along, trying to finish all these machines and get it taken care of so that they can end up in somebody else's garage, and they can enjoy them. But uh, one of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand is the experience also. Lauren and I have got to experience it with our dad, but you got to experience it with your dad too, is how great it is for you to have that guy in your corner all the time.
It, it's priceless. Um, you know, my dad, I get to see him almost every day. He helps me with my business. Um, he is not the fastest guy, that he used to be, and but all the years that we've had, together, it's uh, it it's priceless, man. You know, I always, tell people if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. He pushed me. He pushed me hard, and but I understand why he pushed me hard. I mean, he was working two jobs. He'd be a service manager at the Ford dealership and then come home and work on bikes. There ain't a farmer in Madison County that wasn't bringing a three-wheeler or a four-wheeler over for him to work on in the evenings and so forth. And he'd work out in that shop till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, get up and then do it all over again. And then we go racing on the weekends and come back and then have to keep up my bike, make money. And, but all the times that we've had together, it, I mean, like I said, I love him to death. There's no way that I would have gotten as far as I did without him. I mean, it's just, Dad is a very unique individual, uh, you know, and workaholic in a good way. But, he only knows one way. And when we were racing, and that was, you know, he gave me a hard time. He like, why don't you just take your practice bike out there? I was like, well, I want to, shake down the race bike. He's like, well, the track's muddy. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, just take the practice bike. He said, they're almost the exact same. And, but making sure that bike looked good, making sure that bike was running well. I mean, it's something that he took a lot of pride in it, a lot of pride. And there's been a lot of good time spent together, and then there's been a lot of arguing going on too, and because we're both so much alike. But as I got older and I started putting money into the racing program, I had a voice, and I think it was really hard for him to understand that. And he might not want to run a certain part, and I'm like, we're running this part. and we got to try to make it the best we can. I said, because these people are helping us out. This is a part that we don't have to pay for anymore. And, not that you want to sacrifice quality just to get free parts, but it was, again, trying to get him to jump on board with the team thing, wearing the shirts and putting up the easy up tents and just the branding, and finally, like I said, it caught on. It took a few years and doing that, but just all those sleepless nights traveling. I mean, maybe one time I ever missed work on a Monday morning. We drove all night. And even when I came out to LA and, to California and so forth, when we did some of the racing out there, I'd fly back, and if I took off, that was a different story. But if I remember, we'd be wherever we're at, and we would just drive, me and Dad and another buddy would just keep on alternating and just drive straight through. That's the part that I do not miss at all. Do not miss it. But
I remember, you race on Sunday, you get done, you get loaded up, and you drive straight home. And when the clock was at 7 a.m., you were walking in the door of the shop, or you were already there.
yeah,
It didn't matter. You rolled in at 5, you still had to be to work 7.
yep.
It didn't change because you went out racing. You didn't get a freebie. You still had to be there on Monday morning to get the job done.
Mm-hmm. No, because you had to, that was the biggest thing. When you're going, you got 20 guys going into the first turn. Not every one of them has a mortgage, and so I was racing. When I was 28, I was racing against some young bucks. And, so they're going into that first turn a little bit different philosophy than me. I still don't mind going out on the edge, don't get me wrong. But, when you start having your responsibilities at work and you're expected to be there, clients expecting this from you, and, it changed everything. But when I found out Karen was pregnant with our first child, then that's when I said, okay, I'm done. And, and just was okay walking away from it.
How was she, knowing that, you were racing and you guys were married, and then you find out, she's pregnant and you tell her that you're done. How did she take that?
She took it well, but to be honest with you, I don't want to sound wrong when I say it, but when I met her, I've had some brief periods of racing during my time in my life because of a partner per se. So I was going to stop on my terms this time, and I said, I promise you, I won't hurt us financially and everything else. But I want to stop on my own terms. And then, like I said, when I found out that she was pregnant with Holland, then it was a good time. I mean, to stop and so forth. I mean, I was 38, and I you can't look back on life, but I just, sometimes I wish that I would love to make a go at it where all I had to do was go and train and ride every day.
Right.
And not go to work. And so if you look back at it, that's probably the only thing I would say I look back at it that I wish I could have done differently. But it's just like I said, we did the best we could of what we had, and we worked and we did everything and had great people to help us out. And that's what, made us. And it made it, to be honest with you, doing it this way, it's nice because, you put everything in it you had. I mean, there's nothing I look back on from all these years that, especially when we started doing the nationals, no regrets. I did everything I possibly could of what I had, and same thing with Dad, and with everything.
So you left nothing on the table.
Not really. I mean, like I said, I wish I could have, done it full time the way I wanted to do it, but it's just, you know how it is. I mean, I hate when people stereotype and say it's a rich man's sport, but you know, it does take some money to do it and to do it right. And I just wish I could have trained and rode and loved to seen, the outcome that way. But, we've got to travel all over the United States. Thanks to y'all, we got to travel, to a different country to race, and uh, got a couple national championships, and hey, I'm happy.
It's all great. I mean, I would have loved to have had a shot to just be just be the race mechanic, just take care of the team, and that's all I had to do instead of going to work. I never had that opportunity. There's a lot of guys I know that got to be a race mechanic where they took care of the team, the truck, and that's all they did. That was their life.
Like
And
a factory mechanic, right?
something like that, yeah. And I've never got that. I've always had to do the racing after I put in, the work time. Sometimes we got to prep bikes during work hours, things like that. Maybe if we had a long drive coming, we got to prep, or there was a problem with an engine being done late, and we couldn't prep the bike before we had to leave, so we got to do it during hours. But for the most part, all that stuff was prepped after hours,
Yeah.
or before hours. You show up at 3 in the morning and work, and you get off at 11, or leave. You get off at 5 or 6, work till 11, and then you're back there at 4. And start working on the shop stuff at 7, and you just got it done. That's just the way.
There's no way you could do this sport, uh, what I call them banker's hours.
No way, no way.
And, you know, uh, and it's just, it takes a lot for it to make it happen and do it at the level that you want to do it.
I don't think that if you take, like yourself, that raced and knew what it took to commit, and you transition it to a business, anybody that has done that, when they go to work, they're there early, they stay late, they're knocking things out that the normal person would never even think of putting in the extra effort,
That's
because
right.
they don't have any idea what it is to give everything, to be selfless. And when you go race or you go work in an environment, like we have, it's selfless. You're giving everything that you have. There's nothing left. And there's no, hey, there's another guy over there. He'll take care of it. I can go have a
Yeah.
cup of coffee. There's no having a cup of coffee, you
Yeah.
know?
I have my immediate family, and my work family is my extended family.
Yep.
And I take a lot of pride in being able to make sure they got food to put on their table for their families. And I do not, you know, all the years, because we're a seasonal business. So uh, we got our great months. But from basically from Christmas Eve until March 1, it's a crapshoot because we don't know what we're going to get. If it's snow, that's great. We'll push it. But, we really don't. We have, 2 to 3 months that we have to get through. And, so I take a lot of pride because to have good people and have the consistent services that you need to have, you know, uh, I do everything I can. I've had to cut hours before, but I'm very proud that I've never had to send anybody in any of the companies that I've worked with to the unemployment office. I keep them busy all year long. I mean, I still get excited about, selling a job, you know, uh, and that's where the competitiveness, comes in. I mean, we were down at my in-laws visiting for Christmas, and Karen's like, "Who are you talking to out in the car?" I said, "I'm trying to sell another job." And she's like, "Well, you're supposed to be off." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Phone call ain't gonna hurt nothing." I said, "I told the man I was gonna call him when I got his estimate ready, so I called him."
Right.
He, you do what you got to do, man. You do what you got to do.
I mean, one of the best things that I do and one of the worst things I do is give out my cell phone. And, I'm doing tech calls or I'm helping guys with certain things. And, guy's got an issue with a job. He calls me on my cell phone and can talk to me right now. Or he can send me some photos so I can see what he's got going on. And, sometimes, and I tell everybody, hey, if I do not return this, it's because I'm with my wife. When I'm with her, I'm with her.
Yeah.
When she allows me, when it's our time, if she allows me to do these things or to answer those calls, I will. But when she doesn't, when it's her time, no, I'm sorry. I mean, I have some time in my life where specific relationships probably were hurt because I didn't do that. I didn't have a shut.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 o'clock in the morning that I get the chime on the phone for an email coming in, and it's my guy in Poland having a question or needing something, and I got to jump on answering it right then because that's the kind of guy he was. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you get 4 or 5 of those in a row at 3 o'clock in the morning when you got to get up in a couple hours to go to work. Your partner's not happy with you.
Yep. Yep. I
You
got you.
know, and but now I put boundaries on it. The phone gets shut off at night when it's bedtime or when it's her time, and it just happens. It's just that way, and I don't have a lot of it. 7 days a week that phone's on, and
Yeah.
7 days a week I'm answering calls. Uh, I think I've even answered. I used to work a lot on Christmas because my children were somewhere else, and I was by myself, and I would answer calls or work on machines. You get a lot of stuff done on a holiday when nobody's around.
Oh yeah.
But it's not the greatest thing. It's better to spend time with your family and do things like
Yeah. Yeah. We shut down between Christmas and New Year's, and this started when I've never worked with a company that did that before. So when I started with uh, Lee Highway Nursery, my business partner said, "Well, we shut down between Christmas and New Year's," and I was like, "Okay." So it's something you look forward to, but like today, um, I went in and did some paperwork, tried to get some invoicing done. Two of the kids came down with me and hung out, and uh, we got a pool table and one of those little basketball hoops that you can compete against each other. So that they come down there and hang out and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I'm getting some stuff done, but I know this sounds crazy, but I don't know how to relax.
I get it. I
I,
get
we go to the beach, we take a vacation. I'm like, I'm not saying I'm bored out of my mind, but it's just I am so repetitious about getting up and going to work. It's just like it freaks me out when I'm not there.
Dude, I don't on Christmas Day, you can't call it bored, but I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I mean, like you can only watch so many movies. You can only, it's just I know I'm in my mind. I have a checklist, and I'm going, well, that's not getting done. This is not getting done. This is not getting done. This is not getting done.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to push those thoughts away and actually spend time with your family and enjoy, because there's no guarantee you're going to get that next Christmas.
Oh yeah, and that's what we did yesterday. Hatcher and I, my son, we went down and put this you know what I'm talking about. They have them like in the arcades. They got the little small basketball.
Right.
So him and I went down and put that thing together yesterday. And of course, I feel like, you know, Donald Ray, and here he is, you know, 10 years old, and he's like, all right, we need this part over here. And I'm like, no, don't be jumping ahead. And I was like, it's so scary. I said, I feel like dad. And, you know, but even though he was 10, I mean, you know, he was looking and putting parts and stuff together. And I was like, you did a pretty good job at this. He said, this stuff is easy. He said, you just got to follow instructions, Dad.
Yeah, Dad,
But
you got
yeah,
to follow instructions.
yeah. Hey, I want to look at the box and try to put it together.
Right, right. Same here. Hey, Chad, I don't think we've touched on near enough of your career, and I would love to invite you back to come on another time, and we can get a little bit more into your racing career. But it was an amazing conversation, and a great deep dive into Chad Lohr. I really appreciate it, sir. I really do.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV Talk Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter